Which one?
Which eye?
Yeah, left.
I don't know, probably your left.
Well, Stevie and I are quite happy about this discombobulated England squad.
Right, yes, we're not talking about the England squad now.
We're not talking about Arsenal either. They've won the league last week.
Gives Arsenal some credit. I suppose, frankly, the first time they had to celebrate on the pitch with their visiting fans. You're right with Arsenal celebrating, Frank?
Yeah, I have nothing against that. You know, I think overall they deserve to win that title, the Premier League title, because they were the better team. The consistency, like any other club, weren't there because at the end I think they scared themselves and with some bad results, and we didn't find the Arsenal that we saw for like 6 months. I have no doubt that it would have been the easy winner, but overall, they deserve it. It's nice after more than 20 years that to see Arsenal on top of the league. Hopefully, it's not going to last because, of course, I'm thinking about Chelsea. But when we're going to see Chelsea at the top of the league in the few years, hopefully soon. But I'm not expecting anything. But Arsenal deserve. They had a good group. They had a fantastic team, fantastic squad. I'm pretty sad that Declan Rice wasn't the player of the year this season for him, but overall, nothing much to complain, and the celebration, they deserve that.
When they pieced together, we talked about it at the end of the transfer window, they pieced together a heck of a squad, didn't they? I mean, they backed him, and he had to win the league because they backed him. They backed him with a striker who wasn't always great, but he was decent. They backed him with the wide players. They backed him with the defenders. I mean, they had almost had 2 back fours. Mm-hmm. They could rotate several players across several positions at the back. So they assembled a magnificent squad of players. Now, in the second half of the season, their performances were not always pleasing on the eye. But there is some understanding about that, bearing in mind the position they were in. I don't think a lot of people realise that. They just want to say, oh, Arsenal should be playing better football. When you've failed so miserably so often, then it's not as easy to get over the line as people think. And I think we saw that with Arsenal. But they thoroughly deserved it. In fact, they just had to sit back and watch Man City drop points at Bournemouth, and they got the job done. So in the end, it was pretty easy for them.
What did you do, Stevie, before the Champions League final back in your day? Did you all was it Tel Aviv you all went to and got drunk?
Yeah, we went away and got drunk for about 3 days.
Do you think Arsenal are going to do that out of the PSG game?
Well, considering there wasn't a bottle of beer or a glass of champagne kicking around when they actually celebrated at the training ground with their training kit on, by the way.
Oh, I saw that, yeah. About 10 o'clock at night.
So, yeah, I'd like to think there may be a beer or a champagne kicking about after today, but probably not.
No, focus very much on the tie.
Well, I think there is a worry here for the rest. I mean, Frank talked about Chelsea. Chelsea were 10th in the league. They're not even in the equation. You know, depending what they do in the summer, and I would imagine, and Stevie will probably attest to this, when Liverpool were at their magnificent best in the 70s and 80s, they would go out and
sign somebody
and add to it, and not rest on the laurels. They would add to it, and you were always getting a kick up the backside, because if you thought you were the bee's knees, they'd go and sign somebody. You think, oh my God, my position's under threat. So if Arsenal do that, where's the big threat going to come from? Because, well, you know, Man City are changing manager, and Liverpool are keeping their manager, it seems. So they could be a tough nut to crack for the near future.
You know, you're saying that. You know where the biggest problem might come for Arsenal is Arsenal themselves, because the one thing that held them back, in my opinion, you know, we're laughing about no bottles of beer and champagne, but the truth is, you have to be able to relax and you have to leave it for a bit.
Right.
And you get the impression that Arteta doesn't know how to do that. And I think that was the biggest problem Arsenal had this year, is that everybody was just on edge. And I understand when you're chasing a dream and it's something you haven't won for 20 odd years, whatever it is, that there's a tension. But as a coach, you've got to figure out how to break the tension now and again so that players can relax and actually perform. And so next year, if Arteta doesn't figure a way out of relaxing, then the biggest problem Arsenal might have is Arsenal themselves. Because you can't be on the edge constantly. Eventually it catches up with you.